Everybody, new patch just dropped for Pokemon Auto Chess, and here are some of the biggest changes and the Pokemon that matter from the new patch. Okay, so I summarized it in this little graphic. Don't be too freaked out by looking at it. We're gonna break it down for you guys. Okay, as you can tell by the lovely picture from earlier, this patch is focused mainly on ice and water types. However, there is one Pokemon that I think jumps out as really powerful, and that is Shadow Mewtwo. This Pokemon is crazy. It's got the monster typing, it's got the psychic typing, it's got the dark typing, and it's crazy because it's got the monster and the dark typing. Dark and monster have a crazy amount of overlap, and it's a 3 range, so it can stack monster stacks in the back. Power paired with a crit set, this mon is gonna go absolutely crazy. Dark also got another buff because XD Gale Darkless Lugia is now moved into the Dark Pool. This is a buff also to Aquatic technically, but it's gonna be a regional form found only in the Dark region. It's crazy too because it's basically just Lugia, but it can crit. Alright, next highlight Pokemon I got for you guys is Palafin. Palafin is pretty cool. It is a field water Pokemon, and it powers up when 5 of its allies die, so then it becomes a 30 attack Pokemon. Before that, it's a 12 AD Pokemon. Is it very good? I don't know, but you can pair it with items such as Wide Lens to keep it alive, or you can just play the old school field set on it. I would imagine that Javen set would be decent on it too. So honestly, this mon looks pretty hype. Palafin wasn't the only field Pokemon. Last year it was also added as a legendary, and this Pokemon looks pretty cool too. So it gains 5 AD for every knockout it takes. It's an ice field Pokemon, so it pairs really well with Beartic. And with the speed from field, it can probably freeze a lot of the opponent Pokemon, being a very unique, trait synergy. I think this Pokemon can scale pretty crazy. Alright, there's a lot of other Pokemon too, but I'm gonna highlight one more, and that is Karrablast, or Excavalier. This Pokemon is an epic add-in, and it is kind of wild. Its stats are 30 AD. 30 AD. I mean, it doesn't have that much speed, but it's 30 AD and 180 health. That early on, if you had 2 Dittos, you can just slap it on, and you basically have 3 T10s, because you have Bug 2, and then you have 2 copies of this fella. Alright, so those are all the Pokemon I wanted to highlight. There's also Dondozo and Ice-Cube, which look pretty cool, but I want to move on to the next section of the video, which is going to be the buffs, nerfs, and reworks. I'm not going to go over all the changes. If you want to see all the changes, you can look at the patch notes, but I'll go over the ones I think are most important. The first of which is these items now prevent certain CC abilities. So no longer will your team be slept by a Jigglypuff, or at least your backliner if it has an X-ray. The only thing is, I guess my Pokemon will still hit each other due to Spin and Chatot, but that's not the point. Next thing that's going to be changed is Big Eater Belt is no longer getting PP. I think that's the most anticipated one. Yay! Holy smokes, the item has been way too oppressive for way too long, and Mach Ribbon is now nerfed as well, so Normal got big hit, and I don't think Normal is going to be as good as anymore. Speaking of nerfs, Ice also got a little hit. Its freeze rate is lower, and with that, Psychic got a little bit buff. You can get the unknowns every 5 shops if you have Psychic 3, guaranteed, and that's a big deal because that means you can get unknowns before stage 10. It also means Psychic plays like baby now. It's an econ trait, because if you just have 3 Psychic Pokemon on the bench and then let it ride into stage 5 or roll once into your 5th reroll, you can get an Unknown E. Unknown E can give you an egg, which can allow you to get a Hatchmon as early as stage 5. That's insane. That means your Hatchmon is hatched by stage 15. That means you can have like a Primarina by stage 15. That's crazy. That's a big change to Psychic. Another big change, and this is probably the biggest one, is that Gumi is now shifted to the common pool, Electrike is now in the uncommon pool, and Tratini is now in the epic pool. And they got their stats adjusted accordingly. And this is a huge change because it's a big buff to Dragon, Aquatic, and Amorphous. Those traits did not need help, and they got this additional change. It's crazy. So what happens is, now you can put Dragon 3 super early because you just have Dratini, Seadra, and Charizard super early, right? You can cater your portal. you also have an additional amorphous unit that's easier to hit because again, Gumi's in the common pool, whereas Tynamo is in the uncommon pool, but Tynamo is also a regional. So you no longer need to hit that regional, you can just hit the Gumi instead. Kind of crazy. Another big rework is that AoE abilities are now in general nerfed, although some of them I think is actually a buff for Pokemon that had a little bit of weaker abilities like Darkrai. So yeah, no longer can Articuno freeze your entire board, and now Darkrai can sleep your entire board. So that's pretty interesting. Two more traits got a pretty big rework. Human now no longer allows you to get Payday on Human 2. There are now tiers of TMs, and if you take out the humans, you actually unlearn the TM. So that is weird because you can actually do something like put return on something, build AP, and then take it out and then use the original spell or a new spell. There's a couple of new spells that you can use, such as Hyper Beam, but honestly, I don't think humans can be that powerful, even with these changes. Another trait that got a rework is Wild. You can read what it is. Honestly, I don't think it's that impactful. Alright, I'm not going to cover the rest of the changes because I don't think a lot of them are that impactful or that cool to me, but they may be cool to you, so you might want to check out the patch notes. The only thing I want to mention is that Mantike got a nerf, and Lapras got a nerf, and you know, a couple of Pokemon like I thought were pretty overtuned got their stats changed, which is good. And Dragalge is now water type, so now you can actually have an extra dragon water type in your game as an ad pick. So that's pretty cool. The last thing that's reworked were the encounters. They basically did some balance changes to some of the encounters. It's up to you guys to read in the patch notes, but this is a little graphical of what changed. The only thing I also added was for system change, CC was changed in general so that now there's a cooldown limit of 1.5 rather than 1 second per CC, which is pretty good, although I'm not sure it affects confusion. And AoE abilities are now castable even if the Pokemon has a no target. So that means that, for example, Chatter can cast even if you're not within 3 range of a Pokemon. Alright, and for this last bit of the video, I'm just going to talk about how I think the meta will shift. So currently, this is the tier list I believe is for the current meta. Dragon, Normal, Aquatic being the best, and I think the Mystic Water and Magnet component are really critical. Now, after the changes, I think that Normal is going to be bumped down a little bit, so we're going to see that. And I think that maybe Dark will see more play, but I don't know if it's going to be that good. I do think that Ground and Amorphous are the big winners of this, because think about it, if people are playing Amorphous and Aquatic and Dragon, Ground is a weak synergy, but now you're playing against a lot of weaker mid-game traits. Or, I mean, they're pretty strong mid-game, but like they're, you know, like weak relative to Normal, which might allow Ground to pick up some pace, and Ground is really good into AP comps that Dragon and Aquatic like to play into. So overall, the patch looks pretty spicy with some of the new units and system changes. I'll be playing a lot, so we'll see how the meta develops. Let me know what you guys think will be strong, and I will see you next time.